Okay, good morning, everybody, and hello to all of you. And once again, I want to welcome you to this special class that is hosted by the Department of Education together with Africa Geeks, where we are introducing you to this exciting new concept coming into schools soon called robotics and coding. I am your facilitator for today. My name is Mr. A.F. Gabriel, and welcome to all our regulars who I'm sure have been with us from Monday. This is the fifth lesson in the classes so far. If you're new and just joined us, welcome to you. And somebody did comment yesterday that they were a bit concerned that they had only just joined up. So please remember to go to YouTube and you can download all of the lessons that we are doing are recorded, and the recordings are available online for you. So if you do join up, or if you are telling your friends and they're joining up next week, they can help catch up by simply watching all the videos of this week and then get familiar with what we've done, and then you can catch up to the lessons. Okay, so on with what we're doing today. I find it a bit easier to communicate with you via the chat rather than having to unmute everybody. So we'll work that way today. Okay, so let's begin today. Lesson 5, robotics and coding, lesson 5. And today we're going to continue with animation that we had begun and started yesterday. And of course, we did use some loops yesterday, but there were 3 types of loops that I introduced you to, and I think we only managed to use 1 yesterday. So we're going to use some of the other ones. All of them are different versions of what we call a repeat loop. So today's lesson, animation and repeat loops. Now, let me just go to okay, students, just give me a second while I close this screen. Okay, sorry, a few technical problems there, children, but I think we're back on. And okay, so everybody can see my screen now, right? Okay. All right, good. All right, now, this is the code that we had on screen yesterday. And this code, we had a repeat loop, which was used to make our sprite, our little robot guy there, we made him move across the screen. Now, we started by just moving him. Then remember, we added the wait instruction so that we can actually see him taking the steps. And then we wanted to actually make him look like he's walking. And there I went to costumes. I'm just quickly recapping yesterday's lesson. And in costumes, you saw how we could make a different costume, showing him in a different position, and then okay. I'm going to check the flowers. Sorry, somebody's got their screen on. Okay, right, so let me do that again. So we had this done yesterday, and then we added the costumes, and we had the 2 costumes. One was called costume 3, and one was called costume 1. And the difference in the 2 costumes was that in the first costume, his leg was back, and his hand was back. And then in costume 3, we moved his hand forward and his back leg forward. And if we go to the costumes again, you'll find that this is this area in which we edited the costume. Each thing is a different piece. I remind you again, it's quite tricky to work with these special vector array type of images where each thing is in a piece, you can accidentally grab and move the wrong piece. So you've got to practice with it, play around with it a little bit. Remember, you do have this undo and this redo in case you make mistakes, and you can keep doing that before you save. But if you click the save button, then the sprite will get saved as it is, and you won't be able to undo any changes. You'll just have to re-edit. So it's a painstaking work to make finite animation. And yes, so that's more or less what we did, a simple animation where we made him move. And so let's quickly run this program. And there he is, off he goes. And you can see him moving his hands and legs as he switches between these two costumes. Okay, and we've got this repeat loop running 10 times. Okay, now let's take a look at some other forms of animation that we can do with the costume. Before we move on, I want to put this back in. Right, now you'll notice that whenever we run the animation, he keeps going. And then when we run it again, there's going to come a point where he's going to go off the screen. Can you see that? And because he keeps moving from where he is. So what we want to add here is this 2 blocks of code from the motion. Now, I spoke to you about the coordinates of the sprite, the X and the Y values of where the sprite is. And if you want to know where he is, you can always move him and check the X and the Y values to see what his location is. I'm not sure what they are using as the central point of the sprite, because the screen is designed to be 0. See where my arrow is pointing now? That is the center of the screen is where X and Y is 0. So for those of you, I don't know if you'll ever drew graphs, I think not in primary school. But yeah, the X value and the Y value is 0 here at the middle of the screen. So we don't want to send him to the middle. We want him to maybe keep starting. How about maybe there? I think we can see all of him there. If he starts walking from this spot, it's kind of okay. So that spot is minus 232. So we'll go to our X value and give him minus 232. And we'll give him a Y value of 123. If you look here, you'll see his Y value is 123. So we'll always kind of start from this position. I put the point in direction 90 because if you look at the sprite, you'll see 90 degrees is when he's pointing in this way. If we change this to something else, he'll point in a different direction. So if we add those 2 blocks of code and we run it now, there he goes. He's walked 10 times, moving 10 steps at a time and switching his costume. But if we run the program this time, do you see that he starts from the same spot again? Because we've got this go-to spot right at the beginning. Connection today. Okay, I think it's okay now. Okay, now let's make a few changes to this sprite going across the screen. That's a repeat going 10 times, right? Now I want to introduce you today to some of the other components in the sensing menu. But before I do that, I want to introduce you to this loop. All right, now everybody have a look here. This is a repeat until structure. And unlike the repeat with a number there, remember I taught you 3 loops yesterday. One was the repeat, one was a counting loop, which is what we've got in our program right now. And the other one, I said, was a conditional loop. And the conditional loop is this one. And this one has a condition. Now, remember, I also taught you yesterday, I said it reads like English, repeat until something happens. So this time we want to incorporate this loop instead of the repeat until loop. And we want to make the sprite move, but not stop after 10 steps. We want to choose some other condition that will make him stop, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate these two blocks. Then I'm going to take this out of in there, and I'm going to add it into the repeat block there. Take this counting repeat loop out and put this repeat loop in. Okay, how's that? Now we've got this scenario. Okay, now repeat until. What do we do with this there? Now we have to place a condition in there. You can see yesterday I said to you that's a hexagon. And if you go into your sensing, you'll find that there are lots of these hexagon-shaped blocks. Now, first, let's talk about what is sensing. Okay, my apologies there. I just had to go and get a drink of water. Okay, I'm back. Let's go. Now, if you look into the sensing blocks, you will see that these hexagon-shaped blocks fit into this shape that is in the repeat until control block. So what we can do is we can use these conditions to actually control the sprite. You'll see this one is a round shape. It's like an oval, right? So these blocks will not fit in there. So one of the things what we were trying to teach you earlier when we talked about block-based programming is that the idea of it being like Lego, where certain things can fit in, that helps you to understand what can go to a certain place, what can't go to a certain place. So straight away you can see from the shape of the block there, you can't put anything round in there or anything oval. Because it doesn't fit, it means it's not meant to go there. These oval things go in other places. In fact, you can see that these shapes are oval. So you probably can put those things into there. Of course, sometimes that won't even make sense, but when we need to do such things, we'll let you know, right? Okay, now, what are we going to do? We want to put a condition in here that will help us to control the sprite. Okay, let's see which one we can use. Okay, here, how about this one? Right, let's put this one in. Okay, now what will happen there is that it will repeat until the key space is pressed. So what will happen is that this guy will keep going and keep going and keep going until he hits the space bar. And when he hits, when you press the space bar, then he will stop, right? So let's, and this is for the keys, right? To control the keys. Now let's run the program with this repeat loop. And now he keeps going. Listen for this noise. I just pressed my space bar on the screen and you can see now he's stopped. Let's keep him going again. Let's make him go longer. And listen for the noise as I press my keyboard is a bit sticky. Let's start that again. Okay. All right, I press the space bar and he stops. If you go into this code and you'll see that there's a downward arrow there where it says space. If you click the down arrow, you'll see you get a whole list of possible keys on your keyboard. Okay, so when he presses any one of those keys, then he will stop. For example, the letter A now. Now he will keep going until you press the letter A on your keyboard. I just pressed the letter A on my keyboard, and that stops him. So can you see you've got this diamond shaped things. I'm sorry, not diamonds. I keep saying diamond. These hexagon shapes, which are conditions. We call them conditions. So remember how I explained it to you yesterday. When a condition is met, then the repeat loop will stop. So it's a repeat loop that's waiting for this condition, and the moment the condition is met, the loop will stop. The loop will end. Okay, let's take out this condition. And let's move in another one. There's another one that might be interesting to use. There is mouse down. Look at this one. Right? Okay. So can you see how I can have blocks lying about and they are not part of the program? So the computer doesn't run them. It only runs all the code that's connected to your flag. So if I put that in there, now he's going to walk until I press the mouse, right? Can you see? I clicked on the mouse. You can't quite see that, but I'm going to click the mouse there. And he now will continue walking until the mouse is down. So notice I showed you two different types of controls. You can use the keyboard to control things, but then you can also, let things happen with the mouse. Okay. What else is there here? Key, mouse, right? Okay. There's this one. So we use the one where you can press anything on the keyboard. This is if you click the mouse. This one's interesting. You can make him move until he's touching the mouse pointer, right? So let's start him up again. And let's put the mouse pointer there. And can you see that his part of whatever this wide space torch-like thing is touched the mouse, and he stopped there. So let's put the mouse. See, as soon as I put the mouse there, he stops. There he is. Now he's just moving towards the mouse. Let's put the mouse there. As soon as any part of his body reaches the mouse, he'll stop moving. So you can actually now use, it's moving. He's waiting to see if he touches the pointer. Obviously, if he never gets near the mouse pointer, he won't ever stop moving. So that's the next thing that could happen. So these are a number of things that you could do to control a repeat loop so that he keeps moving until something happens, until you press something like, okay, let's put that one back in. Okay, right. Okay, I'm going to do next. So that's more or less some kinds of things we could do to control animation. And of course, now you are learning how to use a repeat loop and various components from the sensing. Now, can you see why this is called sensing? It's like, okay, the user, the person running the program, using the application, the computer, the whole idea of the artificial intelligence here is that the computer can sense what the person who's using the program, we just call them the user. So that particular person, the user, the computer can sense what they are doing. That's the terminology. So it's like when the keyboard is pressed, it means the user did something. When the user moves the mouse to a particular place, then he will stop walking. If the user holds the mouse down. So can you see, before he was just walking, but now the person using the program can use things on the keyboard and even the mouse to affect what happens to the sprite when he is walking or during the process of this animation. So yeah, that's very, very interesting there. Okay, now I want to do some animation together with you. And to do that, let me just go file, let's create a new platform completely. And I am going to go out here to the bottom, and we will, let's delete this sprite from the screen. Okay, you can see how I just clicked on the trash can at the bottom. Now I have a stage with no sprite. Okay, all right, now yesterday I just briefly told you how you could change the backdrop on the stage. I'm going to just look for a background that we could use for our next program. Let's just, I know you might think that's boring, but let's just pick the blue sky. And then I'm going to change the sprite. And for this sprite, I'm going to pick this ballerina here. Now, you will notice that the sprites come with some preset costumes, right? And if you hover your mouse over any of the sprites in the list, you will see that it actually switches from one costume to the other, and you can actually see what the animation might look like. If I hover it over this arrow, you'll see that the arrow moves in 4 different directions in the different order. Some sprites actually don't have other costumes. So if you hover over the apple, you'll notice it doesn't move at all. Called Ballerina A, which is on now, Ballerina B, Ballerina C, and ballerina. And now, people, we are now going to use the chat group in order for you to help me write the code to animate this ballerina using those 4 costumes. Okay, let's begin. It's completely blank now. So everybody start talking to me. What is the first thing that we need to do? What's the first block I would put? Okay, let's ask this question. Looking at all the different names of the different blocks, which is the one that we press, right? Okay, Corbin says when the flag is pressed. Well done. Where is that? Which one of these sections would I find that? Go to events, I go to events, and I select when the flag is clicked. Well done. Look at this. You guys are writing the code for me. Right, what goes next? What shall we do next? YX. Okay, you want to put the ballerina in a particular spot. Okay, let's put the ballerina at the center of the screen. 0, 0. Okay, good. Okay, then we will need our repeat loop. Okay, a repeat loop. Let's use a loop that we used before. Let's go under control, and I'm teaching how to use a repeat loop with a condition today. So let's pick that one, which is this one, right? And that's our repeat loop. So we'll make a repeat now. Let's also use one of let's use the mouse down. Let's repeat until we click the mouse. So we let it keep doing this ballet move until somebody clicks the mouse. Right now, I need to put something there. Can somebody help me with that? Where would I find the thing that will allow the user to stop the ballerina when he presses the mouse? Sensing, very good. Corbin says it. Sipo also said it. Let's go to sensing. Right now, here is mouse down, and we put that in there, and our repeat loop is now set. This loop is going to keep going until somebody presses the mouse, okay, or clicks the mouse down. Right, good. Now for the costumes. How can we get this ballerina to actually do this move? Where do we go next? Okay, good. Now, Corbin says go to looks. Okay, I am in looks. Next. Mohawa said go to looks, correct, right? Renzo said go to looks, that's all good. I'm just going to okay, now next, what are we gonna put from looks? Change costume. Okay, switch costume. Switch costume. Okay, and that goes inside the loop, right? It's saying switch costume to ballerina D. Which costume shall we choose? Remember, there's 4. Okay. Costume A. Let's start with the first one on the list, costume A. Right, so we got switch to costume A. Next, right, we got it on costume A. Next, what shall we do? Wait 0.5 seconds. Good, let me test you. Which of these sections will we find the wait button? Motion, no. No, wait is not in motion. Control, well done. Wait, so it says wait 1 second. So let's change the 1. Now remember, you click in it, and then you can change it to whatever you like. Since you guys are saying 0.5, I'll go with that. And then we will add it to our code. And go. That's good. Now what do we do? Switch to costume B. Okay. Right, I won't test you guys. No, you know where the costume is. So now we'll put another switch statement there. And we'll switch to costume B. Good. Next. Doing well so far. Another wait 0.5 seconds. So let's take another one of those. Let's click in there. Let's change it to 0.5. And up I go into 0.5. Okay, next. Okay, we've got the wait. Switch to costume C. Right, let's go back to looks. And let's go to switch to costume C. There we go. We got to costume C. Another wait, 0.5 seconds. Hey, you guys, so far I didn't write anything. I'm just following in the chats. I'm just following what you're telling me to do. Wait 0.5 seconds. Again, that's done. And last one, switch to costume D. There we go. Switch to costume D. So costume A, B, C, D runs all together Are we done, or do we want to add anything more? Right, we need another wait, because remember, when the loop runs, it starts there, and then when it ends on costume D, if we don't put another wait, it will switch very quickly to costume A. Costume D will be there for such a short space of time, you won't even see it. So we will go to control, and we need another 0.5 seconds. Okay. And let's do that. And there we go. Looks good. Think we're done? Shall we test run it? Okay, everybody, let's test run this code. How do you like that? Looks like she's doing a bit of a dance. That's the 0.5 intervals. Okay. Let's stop. And when do we stop it? When I press the mouse. Okay. Let's change the 0.5. Just let's make it a little bit faster and see what it looks like. 0.3, 0.3, 0.3. Okay. Looks a bit better when she's doing it a little bit faster. Okay. Somebody said the blue background is boring. I just wasn't switching so much because of my internet problems today. There's the concert one. So let's put the concert backdrop. And let's see. There we go. Wow, that's nice. She's even got all the lights and everything on her. So can you see with just a few simple things, one sprite, one backstage, you can create these very interesting animations. Okay. Right, so I went in there and I pressed the mouse down and she stopped in the middle of the air. Look at that. She's hanging about in the air. Now I want to draw our attention to this little animation out here in the middle. And if you look carefully, you will find that there seems to be switching between the costumes. And when I wanted to change it to do 0.3 seconds, again, I had to go through 4 things. And if you look at this repeat loop, they are the same blocks of code. Switch the costume weight, switch the costume weight. We have to ask ourselves this question. Is it possible to make it even smaller? Can we change this costume switching to make it even shorter than these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 8 blocks of code in that repeat loop. Any ideas, people? Let's go into the looks to see if there's anything that might help us. Okay, people, I can see from the chat that we are chatting about all sorts of things, but we need to focus on what I'm talking about now. How are we going to shorten this code in this loop? Right, there we go. Finally, Lebo-san said something, right? Instead of using switch to costume, because the costumes are ordered, and remember, let's be very careful now, our numbering is A, B, C, D, and that is the order you must have it in. You can switch these orders around, can you see? And if you do that, it will switch the costumes in a different order. So instead of actually choosing this, let's take this entire block out. Let's say next costume, right? But when we say next costume, we don't have an original costume to begin with. So here's the thing. We will remove this repeat loop out from there, right? And we'll put the original costume that we wanted to start in, that's costume A, so that the ballerina starts in the first position. Okay, and then inside this loop, we'll keep switching the costumes. Right, obviously this loop is going to switch the costume so fast that we don't see it. So we will also need one of these, wait 3 seconds, 0.3 seconds. And now we want to put it there because we're switching. So we got ballerina position A, and then we enter this loop. And so before it switches the costume, we want that delay to happen. We want that 0.3 seconds to wait first before it switches to the next costume. Now, let's have a look at this code and let's run this code. Now, look at that. She is doing exactly the same thing. Now, look at the look at this block of code that we have chucked out in order to have the same desired effect. Can you see the output is exactly the same? Okay, so now you're learning that as a programmer. Let's stop by jumping, and look at that, she's in mid-air. Now, if you look at this code, you'll find that it's much shorter, it's more readable. As programmers, we are always looking for a way to shorten our programs. But not only is it better for us, but it's also better for the computer because the computer has less instructions to process. Before it had these set of instructions, this was definitely much better. So we can achieve a lot of things with switching costumes. So instead of switching, you can also use the next costume, provided you've got your animation in the correct order. And that will help you get everything going down a hell of a lot faster. Okay, so far, are we okay? Any questions? Right. Again, you guys, I know in the chats you want to experiment. I can see all that. By all means, now you've got an opportunity after this lesson is done. You go into the sprites, look at all the different animations, and start to experiment. Yes, change the backdrops, put them on different backdrops, change the conditions, fiddle around with with this diamond thing, and stop them at different times. Change the weight thing to see what happens, or switch the order around to see what happens. Again, you can do a lot of these things by just by experimenting with things. Okay. Nuvo asks, can we make the ballerina talk? Yes, we can. If you look at the motion things, you can see there are some verbal, sorry, not verbal, these are visual communications. If you want to just see how that works, let's stick one in there. I was going to do this a little bit later on in the week, but here we go. It says, go to that switch and then say hello for 2 seconds and then start jumping. All right, so let's see what happens there. So now she says hello, and then she goes into her routine. So you can do all sorts of other things. If you wanted to physically say hello, you can also do that, but there you'll have to go to the sound section, right? At the moment, the sound there is a pop. Okay, I don't know, that sounded pretty terrible. I don't want to fiddle in the sound thing at the moment, but again, just so you can see, yes, you can go to the sound section, which is this purple color here, and you can play a sound. I don't know what other sounds there are on this particular sprite. There's only this sound, so you'll have to import other sounds if you want to change the sound for other things, right? Question, can a sprite fly? No, it can only do what you tell it to do. Okay, so if you want to make it fly, I suppose you can. I remember that I think there was a dragon one, and it did have a flying animation. But again, it's all just having to experiment switching the costumes to see how things go. All right, now I got 10 minutes. I want to do one more animation with you. And again, I'm going to clear all this out. We don't need it. I also don't need it. I don't need it saved. It's on the recording. So if you play back the recording, you'll be able to get all that code back for yourself, and you can create that on your own. Okay, now I want to show you the last thing of combining some animation with some sensing. For that, I'm going to delete this sprite. I need a sprite. I need a line of some sort. Let's see if I can find the line. There's one. It says line. It's named line. It's not called sprite1 and all of that. So take note of its name. And then I've got, let's use this beach ball. That's pretty good, right? Okay, so let's put the line there, and I've got a beach ball. Now, what am I showing you here? I'm going to show you how we can use more than one sprite in an animation. But besides animation, let's look at using more than one sprite in general when we program. Now, here's the interesting thing. Watch me at the bottom, when I click the line, and the line is now highlighted in blue. Can you see that? When I click on the beach ball is highlighted in blue, right? When you have more than one sprite in your window, you must remember this. Whenever you are writing code, the code will apply to the sprite that is highlighted, okay? So, and remember, each sprite is different, so you're writing code for different things, right? Now, you would have noticed the ballerina jumping in this area earlier, and I didn't draw attention to it because so far, we've only written programs with one single sprite. But now that we have two, you'll see that even on your script area, it will show you just shaded in lightly out here, which sprite you are working with, right? So if I switch to the beach ball, you'll see that a watercolored version of the beach ball appears on the top hand corner. That's just to help me remind me which sprite I am writing code for. Okay, so I am going to write some code for this beach ball to make it move, right? So events, let's make it start when the flag is clicked. Then I want to go to a motion. I want to put the beach ball at the center of the screen, 0, 0. Okay, and then I want the beach ball to move towards the line. Now remember, it's pointing at 90 degrees, right? All sprites, when they first appear, they appear at 90, right? So I want it to point up to the top. And if you look at the top, oh, this thing keeps coming up, right? The top is 0, 0, 90, 180, 270, and then of course back to 0. So I want its direction to be not 90, but I want it to face up. So I'm going to change the 90 to 0, right? So when we run the program, oops, that's the wrong thing. I have just demonstrated how not to use the wrong. This code is meant to be for the beach ball. All right, let's check this code out. And let me set the line right. My apologies, guys. Not straight. 90. Okay. Let's put our line back. Right, so that was me showing you how the wrong sprite will be activated with the code. I click on the beach ball. I want to write this code for the beach ball. So let's quickly do that again. Okay, I wanted that, and in the motion, I wanted the go to, and I wanted the point in direction. So point in direction 0. Now a ball is round, so you may be wondering, how will we know whether it's turned in a different direction? If you look at it, like maybe this red dot is pointing this way. If we run this code, the red dot should point up. Then we know it's right. Can you see? The red dot is actually now pointing up, and the ball has centered on the screen. So that's showing you that position 0, 0 is really the center section of your stage. Okay. Now I want to run a loop that is going to see if the ball is touching the line. So we're going to put a repeat loop there. And I'm going to use the loop I'm teaching you to use today, which is the repeat until, right? And then I'm going to go to the sensing. And then I'm going to say touching, right? And then can you see, because I've got the line there, it's picking up the line as one other possible thing. Is the ball touching the line? Remember, line is the name of our sprite. So we're going to repeat until the ball is touching the line. And then we're going to move the ball towards the line. Now if I put a move 10 seconds, the ball is going to move up because I changed the direction to up, not like how the other sprite was moving to the right. Okay, I also want to put a little delay there so we can see the ball in motion, and 0.2. Now this ball should move until it's touching the line. Let's just run that piece of code. Right, it moves, can you see? And then as soon as it touches the line, it stops because that loop is over. Okay. Now, what do we want to do? We want to get the ball to continue moving again until it touches one of the edges of the screen. Okay, so let's put another repeat until loop in. Okay. And in this one, let's go to our sensing, and we will go touching, and you will see edge. Now, whenever you put edge as a sensor, the sprites can sense when they're coming to the edge of the screen. Any corner is the edge. You don't have to say right edge or left edge or up edge or bottom edge, any of those edges. And now we want you to move away from the line. So we'll need another move. And now I'm going to teach you, if you want to move in the opposite direction, then you use a negative sign, right? So 10 is going to move in the upward direction. If you change the sign to negative and put the same values, it will run those values in the opposite direction. Then let's go to the wait again. And let's make it wait 0.2 seconds. And let's see what happens now when we run the code. So it moves towards the barrier. Now it hit the barrier, but because I had another repeat loop, now it's going back down in the other direction, and now it's stopped because it reached the edge of the screen. Okay, I only got 3 minutes left, and in that time, I want to demonstrate the one effective use of the forever loop, which we generally only tend to use for animation. And if I put that entire repeat loop in a forever loop, the ball will continue to bounce continuously from the edge of the screen to the barrier. But now you will notice how we have now included sensing in our program so that the ball can sense the edges of the screen, and we can also sense the barrier. We're also going to put some code in the barrier, but I definitely in 3 minutes will not be able to do that. But at least you can see now how animation can be very effectively used with very simple things and simple code. And of course, this obviously is going to continue forever now, so we're going to have to press the stop button. Let's just 0.1 and 0.1 to see what happens there. And let's run. Now it's, maybe that's a nice speed. I think I like 0.1 a little better. So now that's our ball and barrier. Now let's save this because we're going to have to continue with this on Monday. And I'm going to save this program as, let's stop this. All right, let's just call it bouncing, capital B, and I'm using 2 words, and I'm teaching you camel case again, where we use 2 capital letters for each new word that we are saving. And then I go save to my computer. Okay, and here we go. The bouncing ball is saved, and we're going to pick it up on Monday, and I will add some code to the barrier for you so you can see how the ball and the barrier work together. I'm going to close right there because I'm going to leave 1 or 2 minutes in case anybody wants to ask any questions. What you are now seeing is that how we are going to use 2 sprites together. I only wrote code for 1 sprite. There's no code for the line. We have run out of time, so I'm going to do that on Monday. Um, but anything else that I can help you with? I must apologize today. I'm not feeling too well. I've been drinking a lot of water in between talking to you. But um, yeah, I think we were okay. Okay, guys, so good. No, there is no class on Saturdays, by the way. These classes run from my class with you is from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock every weekday from Monday to Friday. So we're going to have a break on the weekend, and you can try to log in again on Monday at about 5 to 1, and we will continue with our animation. Guys, I just want to say thank you for sharing and joining us today. Please tell your friends. I see there's about 30 some odd people in this, but we'd like to reach out to more people. This is countrywide. So, phone your friends and tell them this exciting initiative that you are part of, and get as many people as you can to join. With that, from the Department of Education and Teen Africa Geeks, we'd like to say thank you for joining us today. Goodbye and have a lovely weekend ahead.